Welcome to the Top Agent Podcast. We speak to top industry leaders in real estate and extract their insights to help you grow your business. This podcast is powered by Web for Realty, the leading provider in real estate marketing tools. As our way of saying thank you to our listeners, we're offering an exclusive 2-month free promo to the best IDX websites, CRM, and email marketing tools in the industry. Just go to topagentpromo.com to claim this exclusive discount, no strings attached. If you're looking to attract leads, build relationships, and close more deals, go to topagentpromo.com and get started. All right, I am very excited to introduce my next guest. I'm speaking with Stephen Ross. Originally from Southern California, Stephen began selling real estate there in 2005. And then for the last 12 years in Colorado. Stephen calls himself the worst type of person to be a real estate agent because, one, he's an introvert. He doesn't work nights or weekends. You can't find him online. He doesn't do parties or events. And he's antisocial, really. So yet he built a very successful real estate business twice in 2 different states, doing one thing and one thing only, door knocking. Stephen has knocked on over 125,000 doors in his career. He's also the author of the book, Doors Open When You Knock, a Realtor's Handbook for Boundless Opportunity and Freedom. Stephen, welcome to the Top Agent Podcast.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. So, look, I want to jump right into it. You know, our audience are realtors, of course, and, you know, a lot of them are looking for practical and meaningful advice and tips they can just implement in their business today. You know, and obviously a lot of agents use door knocking in their marketing efforts, but you know, I don't believe anyone, or at least I don't know anyone who has knocked on over 125,000 doors. Like, that's a huge number. Crazy to even think about. So a lot I want to dive into there, but first thing I want to ask, you know, you say you're an introvert, so why did you choose door knocking as your way to like put yourself out there compared to channels that require maybe less interaction?
Well, I mean, I don't know that there's a channel that requires less interaction. I mean, and in a way, I didn't choose it. I defaulted. It came down to knock on doors or go out of business. And I got my real estate license March 15th, 2005. My 3rd child was born 6 weeks later. So I had 3 kids to feed, under 5, commission-only business. What the F was I thinking, right? And, you know, I had a real estate coach, or I met a real estate coach. He said, knock on heads, knock on doors, pick one. I thought, knock on doors, dude. Are you out of your mind? I'm a UCLA grad. I've worked on Wall Street. I've done consulting. No way. But then 3 months later, I'm just like, I'm just not talking to enough people. I am going to be out of business. I'm going to be one of those that washes out if I don't make something happen. So I thought, well, I guess I should try this knocking on doors thing. And, you know, so it really was like, I didn't know what else to do. How about that?
Yeah. All right. No, I love that. That's awesome. So you started back in 2005. So just to paint the picture, I like to ask this question just to give some context to the audience, but how many transactions do you do in a given year or sales volume in a given year?
My goal is to do 10 million or more every year. That's my minimum standard. That gives me a great life by working like 25 hours a week on average or less. That's my goal. And I could obviously do more, and it's not that I'm not capable. I'm just not motivated enough to do the extra effort because, I mean, here's the other thing. I mean, everyone gets in the business for different reasons. Mine was to raise my family. Like I said, I had my 3rd child was born. And when I moved to Colorado, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, when I finally got my business, finally started ramped up and I was starting to make some progress, I realized I only had a few more years left with my kids at home. And so I took my kids, I was at every baseball practice, every baseball game, every dance recital, every dance practice. I was home with them every night for dinner. I didn't take calls at night. All of it, right? That was just a choice I made. And I'm not saying that's the right choice, but I could have easily done more. with what I was doing, right? I just chose to dial it back and just work less. And so whatever we talk about, if your goal is to do more, that's great. You don't need to have my goal, but the principles are solid,
I love that. I want to get into the schedule and that in a second. Um, but I appreciate that. So back to door knocking, I want to really dive into that. So a lot of questions here. So when you door knock, what's your objective when you're like walking on that driveway and like ready to knock on that person's door? Like, what exactly are you trying to achieve with that interaction?
Perfect. That's a great question because everyone has a different, and I do talk about this in the book a little, but because the book's not about door knocking. The book uses my journey at the doors as a metaphor. Most people are not going to go knock on doors. So the book is about how do you develop and cultivate the habit of showing up week in and week out, regardless of what you're going to do, in a business that's not about that. And so this isn't in the book, which is, it is a little bit, how did I approach the doors? And that is, and I'm not saying this is the right way, this is the way I did it. And early on, I discovered that two things was true when I was knocking on your door, right? So Costa, if I'm coming to your door, here's what we do know is true. One, I'm trespassing on your property. Two, I'm interrupting you. You were not planning on me coming to your door. So realizing that and saying, all right, here's my intention at the door. One, I'm going to leave people better off than I found them. And that could be just a smile, have a great day if they don't want to talk to me. I can have that intention and win. Two, I am looking for now business. I am not looking for people who are moving in 3 years. I could care less. If you are not moving now, don't care. Don't care meaning I don't need to put you into my database and drip on you. If you're not moving, it doesn't matter. And then three, how can I be of service? So, how hard is it for me to pass off my painter's number or a sprinkler person? Or I've helped people get jobs. I've connected all sorts of people just because I had a commitment to serve the person I was in front of. So that was my intention. And when you have that intention at the door, it's a little different than walking up a driveway thinking, I'm there to get something from somebody, and I'm not there to get anything from anyone.
I love that. So that's an interesting point because it's a little different than what you're sort of used to hearing about the now business. A lot of the realtors and sort of the playbooks a lot of realtors go by is about building the relationships for the long term and nurturing those relationships. So can you talk about that in your strategy in regards to the now business as opposed to like the long term?
Yeah. I mean, look, of course I want now business. That's how I feed my kids. But the odds of someone when I knock on their door, right? And I know the odds, I've been doing it a long time. The odds that someone's moving the day I knock on their door, super low, super low. But if I'm going to spend, 2 to 3 hours a day talking to people, what can I do to establish myself as a trusted advisor, someone that they connect with, that they'd be willing to call back if something changes between when I'm with them and the next time I see them, which is usually when, right, the odds are that they're going to have a real estate need. And therefore, it's about giving. I'm never there to get. And then how I interact with them is all to establish that trust and rapport.
Love it. Love it. So at what point did you realize that, okay, door knocking is the path that I'm going to take, and that's what I'm going to choose to do to bring business, to bring my business to the next level? Like when did you get that realization with door knocking, or was it just, established from the get?
It was not established from the get-go because early on, if you're newer listening, when you're newer, you don't really have anything. I mean, you have people telling you what to do or what you should do, but you yourself don't know, right? You're still not really sure. And neither was I, right? I'd heard people open house, door knock. One of my good friends who got me in the business was a open house in marketing. He still does, spends a ton on postcards, and he does 1 million open houses. So I was still trying out those things, but by year 2 or 3, I realized that my strength is at the door.
Okay, fair enough. So, many agents I know that I've spoken to on this podcast and, clients of mine, like use door knocking in their day to day, of course. So if you can give one tip for agents while door knocking, like what would that one suggestion be if you can really drill it down?
Well, I mean, here's the thing to get at the door. And by the way, I learned this by working with Chris Voss starting about 4 years ago, who wrote Never Split the Difference, and employing some emotional intelligence and tactical empathy, and working with him and with my coach, because I'm still coached. Even though I coach others, I still need to be held accountable. And I had been knocking on doors at that point one way for, I don't know, 12 years, and it worked. But there was nothing wrong with the way I was doing it. It did work. However, I did discover a way that was a little bit better, and it was this. It was acknowledging the fact that, like I said before, I'm trespassing, interrupting, the odds of them moving are low. So it shifted the way how I interact with them. So when they come to the door, I'm saying things like, they come to the door and I say, "Hi, it's Steven the Realtor. You seem busy," because they usually are. "You seem busy. Did I catch you at a bad time?" And now I usually go 11 to 1, 11:30 to 2, whatever. So literally half the time people come to the door, they're eating their lunch. So I say, "Is this a bad time? Looks like I caught you right in the middle of lunch." And they say, "Well, no, what's up?" And I say, "I'm the local realtor. What I have to say will take less than 2 minutes." And it will. And they say one or two things. "No, I don't have time. Shut the door." Or, "Yeah, go." Now, the moment they say, "Yeah, go," they've just given me permission. So then I start, I haven't vomited it all over them. I'm not trying to race it all in before they shut the door on me. So now I've got their permission. I've told them how long I'll be there. And then I say, "You probably are not planning on moving this year." And they say, "No, we're not." Great. So now that's out of the way. They don't have to worry about, am I going to ask them, are they moving? You're not moving. All right, great. And you're probably not paying too much attention to the market. Now, this one can go either way. Half the time they'll say, "Yeah, no, I kind of pay attention. I like to know what's going on." Or they'll say, "No, could care less." And then I say, "Well, I come by twice, 2, 3 times a year, and I drop off a market update. I have a market update." And I say, "Would you mind if I left it with you?" "No, that'd be great." I hand it to them. And then, now I know it's been less than a minute. And I can already tell if they want to talk or not. And so if they don't want to, and if I can sense that they don't want to talk, I say, "Hey, great, I super appreciate your time. I come by a couple times a year. I'll see you next time." That's it. Or if they're willing to talk, I start asking some more questions. We engage in a conversation, and I'm paying attention to what they're asking me, and then we go down that rabbit hole. And so that was a little more than you asked for, but the whole point is I'm getting permission to talk to them, and I'm not trying to convert everybody at the door. I'm trying to find the people who want to talk to me. Way easier.
I love that. No, that's exactly what I was looking for. I was hoping you can even get into more. So for the people, for half of the people that say, "Yeah, like I don't care, I'm not interested," when you asked about the market, compared to the people that are interested, how do those conversations go either way?
I mean, it depends, but if someone doesn't care about the market, I'm more focused on if I've never met them, right? I'm assuming this interplay was a cold door. Then I'm just trying to find out, the old Mike Ferry lines. Where'd you move from? Why'd you pick? How long you been here? Where'd you move from? Why'd you pick this area? If you were to move in the future, where would you go? I'm asking some version of those questions, and then whichever one they pick, I'm sort of drilling down and getting them to elaborate more. If someone's more interested in the market, I might press to find out, well, how often do they pay attention? What really piques their interest? As one of my early mentors said, and he lives in La Quinta, California, where lots of golf, and he used this analogy. Some people play golf. Some people look at real estate. They're both recreation. you know, he's like, I don't work with the people who, who do recreation. Some people just like to recreate in the world of real estate, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Curious question. So, like, knocking on so many doors in your career, like, have you found a common trait or characteristic in people that you discovered through all the doors you knocked that are common in the people that sort of move forward with you and do business at some point in the future, or is it like pretty random in that sense?
It's pretty, I'm sure you've, say how to say this. Most of us, if we stopped, we either A, have articulated who our deal clients are, or we have maybe not articulated, but in the back of our mind, we kind of know who are the people we like to work with. And those are typically the people I know who I like to work with and who are my clients. And those are the people that I stay engaged with. It's pretty rare. There are many people I meet at the door and they're friendly, but there's no connection.
Yeah.
And therefore, if there's no connection, the odds of them ever calling me are like almost zero. It almost never happens. And they're nice and friendly at the door, but we never really connect. And so that's really the test, is do we connect? And I don't know how you measure that. I have yet to quantify that. I just know, are we connected or not? And the answer is yeah, it's yes or no.
That's exactly what I was sort of getting at. That is, the whole, law of attraction and working with people that you want to work with that are like-minded. So, yeah, I think you sort of answered that for sure. Is there an optimal time to knock on the door?
I mean, what's the old line? I mean, I didn't create this line. The best time to go is the time you'll reliably go every day. And it's, we all know that willpower's on call, right? As Gary Keller said. So the odds of you having the willpower at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. in the summer months to go when more people are home, I don't have that willpower. This is just not going to happen for me. So I created a time that works for me, and that's the time I go. And, that's my recommendation. Will you catch more people at 4 or 5 p.m.? 100%. Will you catch more people on a Saturday? Yes. But I don't work weekends, so I don't,
Got you. Amazing. So, even today, 10 million a year is your goal every year. To this day, you're still knocking on those doors every day?
Up until COVID, I was out every day. COVID's obviously put a hold on things. I was out in October for a few weeks where there was a break, and I thought I could get out and see people, and people were amazing. But what I did during COVID was simulate my door knocking time. So the same time I went to the doors, I would get my phone and put on, I just went on a t-shirt and a hat. I'd go for a walk and I'd make all my calls. Right. So it's the same pattern, same time, same activity. And, because I've knocked on so many doors and I know so many people and I've developed so many relationships, those people, I over time I had their information and those people have called me, right? It's been another great 12 months for me. And it's all people, not all, but a lot of the business that people just call me because I met them at the door.
Yeah. So, last couple of questions on the door knocking specifically, but, back to the objective of the door knock. Are one of your objectives to actually get that person's email or phone number? Like, do you ask for that? No?
Never. And here's why. And I'm not saying this is right, so everyone's got to decide for themselves. As I said, I don't want to work very hard and I only want to work with people I'm connected to. And I'm not going to call people that I don't know. Right? If I don't have any relation, I'm just not going to call you. Yeah. I'll knock on your door 3 times a year. So me getting your name, your info at every door, I've then got to take it back and put it into the database, and then I've got to manage the database, because what ends up happening is you'll move without me, and now you're still in my database, and so you got to keep your database current. There's all this extra work for low probability people. And so for me, I just decided that's too complicated. I'm going to stick with the people who I know. And the people that are in my database are people that when they open the door, they say, hey, Stephen. Right? I don't have to tell them who's at their door. Does it mean every one of them still calls me? No. But most do. Many do. And the people who are higher, what I call a B or higher, even if they're not going to use me, and it is rare, but it does happen, they will call me and say, you know what, we would like to use you, but we just feel, our grandson just got his license and we just feel obligated to use him. I get it. Thanks for the call. They didn't have to call me.
Yeah, no, I love that for sure. So let's say you've knocked on, 100 doors today, whatever the number is, spoke to a bunch of people. Over time, like that easily adds up quickly in terms of, the people you speak to, the contact information you may or may not get. So is there anything you do with the people you've spoken to and connected with? For example, like you mentioned, you alluded to put them in a CRM or like, do you have any processes that help you communicate and then keep in touch with these people moving forward?
I mean, look, as I said, I'm terrible at many things. And even though I came from an IT world and I had a database, I didn't use it very well. So up until maybe 2015, 2016, I wasn't doing a very good job of keeping connected to these people. About that time, though, I realized that's a bad idea and I'm losing money by not doing that. And so I started mailing periodically. And what I do, I write a couple of real estate updates. I used to sometimes send just listed, just sold. Now I do. But I used to write a personal letter 2 or 3 times a year. And that was, I'm a writer, obviously. So I'm not the best writer, but I'm not a bad writer. And I always wrote it as a way, as if you and I were at the door. This would be me telling you what's going on with Stephen and kind of my view of the world. Not real estate related, just about me and my family. And that letter, doing that letter has absolutely made a difference in staying connected to people when I'm not at their door.
Yeah. So you mail this out to.
And it gets mailed out. Yep.
Okay. And how often do you do that?
3 times a year.
Okay.
It should be 4. Look, I'm human. I get distracted, and
Nice.
the letter for this month that should have gone out last month, I'm like, shh, it's May. I'm supposed to go out last month. I got it written and out it went. So.
Okay, good. Is there anything else you do to nurture, relationships and keep in touch with people like that, or is that the main?
I mean, the great thing about knocking on doors is I'm going to see you 2 or 3 times a year, right? What's better than seeing someone in person? Obviously, my people move in and out of the farms I've worked. I have referral business. I have clients. So a lot of my clients are not in my farms. And so I do talk to everybody every, a couple times a year. I also prioritize, right? Some people are more likely, it's just natural. Some people are going to be more apt to refer you, or they do refer you. I call those people all the time. I heard from other top producers who work a repeat referral. They know who their top 10 people are that send them business. They do not let them out of their sight, and neither do I. Right, and I don't like doing that. It really takes something for me to do that.
For sure. So other than door knocking itself, are there any other channels or avenues you use to add new contacts into your database? Like anything else that's been successful for you?
Not for me. I mean, I joined a Toastmasters club in 2010 or 11 because I wanted to develop myself as a speaker. And obviously those people became good friends, and it has generated business for me. I didn't join with the intention per se. It worked out nicely. But, I didn't want to, the whole point for me about the doors and my message in the book is about keeping things simple. And I like I said, I only wanted to work X number of hours a week. I wanted time off. So I realized, right, if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. Les Brown. Hard is knocking on doors 2-3 hours a day, 150 days a year. That's friggin' hard. But if I did that, I didn't have to do anything else.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So when you moved from California to Colorado, did you have like a network in Colorado, a sphere of influence, or anything like that, or was it like zero?
Zero. I knew nothing. Right? In a business about connecting people and property, I knew no people, no property. I didn't know what a basement was. Didn't have basements in Southern California. What the hell's a basement? Never even been in one.
Wow. So you literally establish yourself through knocking on doors. Um, so in your first year in Colorado, like how many transactions did you close?
Not many. I want to say like 6 or 8 or something like that.
Wow.
You know,
Still pretty
not a,
impressive considering like starting at zero.
yeah. I mean, I wasn't new to real estate. I was new to Colorado. The price points were much smaller back then, and so I mean, I think it got me. I think the first 2 years here, it's hard to remember. I want to say like I think both years I think I only averaged like 6 to 8 deals, and so 09 and 10 were hard. It wasn't until 11 and 12 as the market was and the economy was coming out of the toilet, things started to finally get some momentum. Um, it was a grind for sure.
Amazing. Well, impressive nonetheless. Um, Switching gears a little bit, you don't work nights or weekends. You mentioned that a few times now. So, which for most agents hearing that are like, what the hell? Like, that's the only time I work, So, talk about that. Like, how is that even possible in real estate where, let's say, for example, a lot of clients, they work during the day, only time available are the weekends. Like, talk about that.
I mean, then I guess I only attract the clients who don't want to, who aren't like that. Every now and then I do have clients that can only go out on a Saturday, but that is the exception, not the rule. And yeah, I think this was true when I lived. It's too hard to remember for sure when I lived in LA, but certainly in Colorado, people like to do stuff on the weekend. They don't want to go schlep around and look at real estate. They got plans. They got kids' soccer games. They got parties. They got golf. They're going up to the mountains, summer or winter. I mean, they got plans. They don't want to go look at real estate.
I hear that for sure.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, people, I mean, I'm pooped by 6 p.m. And I know my clients are too. So engaging in meaningful conversations after hours is a fruitless exercise for me and my clients. And they're sharper during the day. And I have, my partner, she's a physician. I have other physician clients, their days are busy. But I can tell you, I remember before electronic signatures were prevalent. I remember one ENT doc I had as a client, and I literally had to go to the hospital, and in between cases, he's coming down and signing the docs for his, $2 million purchase. By the way, I met that client at the doors. Um, so, I think, it's the expectation we have. The industry will let you work nights and weekends, and so people automatically do it because they have no standard otherwise. And I'm not saying that they're wrong and I'm right. I just know for me, having that standard works for me and my clients.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, I love that. So, you know, maybe there's no answer to this, but what do you tell the agents who are starting out, maybe need a paycheck, need to get some deals under their belt, subscribe to the same philosophy like you? Weeknights, I don't want to work. I want to spend time with my family, but the clients I'm attracting, like they're only available on the weekends, and I need this paycheck. So, what do you say to those agents?
Look, I've been there. When I moved here, the part we left out that first year, I had some savings, but the market was tanking and everything had tanked, so I didn't have as much money as I used to have, and I had 3 kids still. I didn't lose any moving from California to Colorado. I still had them all, and I'd knock on doors and sell real estate during the day and go wait tables at night, just to make sure I had some extra cash, to make sure I didn't need a commission, right? To force a client to make a bad decision because I needed to get paid. And so my advice is, it's what I tell anyone who's looking to get in the business: can you live with not getting paid for a year? Obviously, that's not the intention. Many agents can find a way to make it work in their first year, but there's some people like me that are just a little slower, And so, if going in you can make it a year, all the better. But if you're already in, and you're listening to this, you're like, damn it, I need a paycheck. I mean, you can also always get side hustles, as long as you. Here's the difference. Let me just say this. When I was waiting tables at night, that was not plan B. That was never plan B. That was just to get me through because I knew I was going to make it. And I think that's the difference. There's nothing wrong if you need to pick up a small side hustle for some extra cash because whatever you're doing hasn't quite come in yet. But not as a plan B. You still got to believe, and during your working hours, you're doing the right work.
I like that. I really like what you said there. One of my models personally is like no plan Bs, but and it's easy for someone to think like having that side hustle or that job is a plan B in a way, but really it's not. It's like really a shift in how you look at it. It's actually part of your plan, right? So that's a really good point. I like that. So we all know nowadays, I want to get into another topic here, which I think is very interesting in your case. Nowadays, pretty tough to dispute the importance of having an online presence. I assume you look at that a little bit differently. You admit that you can't really be found online. And I would attest to that. When we connected by email about this podcast, first thing I did was Google you. Couldn't really find much. I chalked it up to your name, Stephen Ross, which I figured is pretty common. But you don't have much of an online presence. So what are your views on being online, the importance of that? I'm curious to hear.
Again, I'm not saying this is right. My point in the book, and is that if you pick the right path, it doesn't mean the doors, whatever your path is, and you stick to it, you can get where you want to go. And surely there are other ways to leverage your business. And being online is probably helpful, but it also wasn't going to create trusted advisor relationships with strangers. Like that just wasn't going to happen. And maybe a little sooner than later, I could have put something online. So for the people I met at the doors, so how many people did I meet at the doors, get to know? They go to Google me and couldn't find me and then gave up on me. There probably is some percentage of lost business. And so that would be shame on Stephen for doing it. And but that activity was never going to come before knocking on doors. So if I wasn't willing to put the time and effort in after I knocked on doors, then that was my choice. And that is the choice I made.
Makes sense. So talk about the book a bit. Who's the book for? Like, who's the ideal agent or person that should be reading that book?
This book is for the agent who wants to develop the practice of showing up in a business where the business itself calls for everything but that, right? We have no boss. There's no schedule. People obviously work all kinds of crazy hours in this business. It's chaos. And so if you want to develop a practice, and mostly you want to develop a life in a business that has boundless opportunity and freedom, this is the path to get there, right? This is exactly the path. And I don't mean knocking on doors. I mean, this is the path you've got to get on to get there, right? All the things we know we need to do, but don't do. Defining why you're in this business, facing your resistance, operating from a schedule, knowing what's most important, right? And I, as one of, I was just on the phone with a new client yesterday who read the book, and he's like, this is exactly what I need to hear, but it's like for real, like it's real stories. Like this is what you had to put up with. He's like, so I can see myself dealing with these same issues.
Love it. That's awesome. So if you had to give one piece of advice, to an agent that's looking to elevate their business, they double their transactions from, 10 to 20, 15 to 30, what would that one piece of advice be?
The piece of it for that particular situation, so someone that's looking to double, I think there's like three parts to that. One, is that what you really want? Just be clear. Totally fine if you do, totally fine if you don't, but not because someone told you it's a good idea. So, okay, assuming that's what you want to do, what is your path to doing it? For me, it would just be talking to more people. Maybe it would have been leveraging some online stuff, but really it just would have been being better and talking to more people at the doors, and then just committing to that. And then the third piece is patience. Patience, right? You want to double your business. Maybe it'll happen in a year. Maybe it'll happen in 2. But if you think it's going to happen in 6 months, it could, right? We're in a boom. Things are awesome. But if you don't have the patience for 18 to 24 months, there's a high probability you'll be, unfulfilled.
I think that's the most important thing. I feel like people don't have the patience, whether it's in real estate or anything else. I think a lot of people just want to get to the finish line without running the race, as I like to see. And there's really no substitute for that. The nitty gritty, the hard work, and the knocking on the doors, like you say.
You got to just strap in, settle in, and just know, all right, this is my game for the next 2 years. Here's where I'm going, and maybe I'll get there a little sooner. Maybe I won't, and I'm going to make the process. I'm going to find a way to make the process work, and I'm going to enjoy it. Because who cares in the end? You doubled your business. Big deal. If you worked 80 hours a week and you're miserable, is that what you really wanted? I would argue, right, that if you find a path and you stick to it, the journey becomes the reward. Yes, we all want to get paid, and who you become along the way is the real juice.
Totally agree. I love that. Stephen, I do want to be mindful of your time. I do end off each chat with what I call the top 3. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Number 1, the most impactful book you've read.
Right. I know I'm smart enough to know I can't say mine, so I won't say that. There's too many to choose from. So I'm going to name 3, and you tell me which one or all that you've heard of or not heard of, and then we'll pick that one. So Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles.
Okay.
And the One Thing by Gary Keller.
Nice.
Those 3.
I just haven't heard of the first one.
All right.
Perfect.
Look it up, man.
I will. I just noted it down. What was the author on that one, you said?
Og Mandino. It was like really one of the very first books I read in real estate that wasn't a real estate book. That was like mindset. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much. Number 2, your favorite vacation spot?
There is no, there's too many, but I'll say 2 things. One, like I said, my partner's a physician, and so she gets, continuing ed. So we go to these amazing places for continuing ed, and I do nothing, and she sits in a conference from 7 a.m. to noon. That's awesome. And the last one we were at was in Grand Cayman. So sitting on the beach of the Ritz-Carlton with a pina colada. It's the best.
Sounds good right now, for sure. And if you can go back, what's the one thing you wish you knew when you were just starting out in real estate?
This is, to your point, the online stuff, I probably could have done a better job. But the thing that would have made the biggest difference, mostly after I moved here, is I didn't pay attention to the people I was connecting to soon enough and often enough. Had I done that, I would have been 2, 3, 4, 5 years further ahead than I am now. And nothing wrong with where I'm at, but I just didn't, I still thought every door was equal, as opposed to once I'd met someone and really connected, that door was worth more to me.
Great advice. Yeah, I love that. Stephen, thank you so much. This was amazing. I know so many people listening are going to get a ton of value and just tactical advice and feedback. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate the time. Someone wanted to reach out, get a hold of you, find your book. Where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Please, if you liked anything about what I talked about today, the book, Doors Open When You Knock, you can find it on Amazon, or you can find me at doorsopenwhenyuknock.com. There's the best way to get a hold of me.
Amazing. We'll put that all in the notes on the episode. Stephen, appreciate the time again. I hope we can do this again one day.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good one.